let me unmute it. That always makes it go better. What's up out there, everybody? I hope that you are doing absolutely great. I see here I've got a bunch of folks logging on. Give it one more quick second, and then we're going to get going on a topic that I care a lot about. So, yeah. Hey, John, what's up? What's up? How's it going? Okay. Yeah. All right. Look, you never know. Sometimes you wonder if only your mama's going to show up. And so, if you're out there, mom, I really appreciate you for being there, mom. Hats off to all the mothers out there. Let's see, one more second. We'll get going. What's up? Yeah, that's cool. Hey, Janice, I haven't met you yet. I love that your name is Janice, though, because you're going to really, really like one of these slides that we've got going on here in just a second. So I'm going to go ahead and kind of get us going a little bit. We've got a lot of information to cover tonight. And I know as real estate agents, realtors, we got busy lives, big goals, big dreams. So I'm just going to get right on into it because that's my personality. So if you'll just bear with me, we're just going to get right at the meat of this thing. So if I haven't met you yet, my name is Josh. I am with the JRB Dream Team with Real Broker. I am a licensed real estate agent. That's important. You know, what makes me qualified to have this. But before all of that, I actually was an investor first. And that's why I'm coming to you today. I am the co-host of Dealmaker Atlanta. I see a lot of my Dealmaker Atlanta friends on here. Let's go, Dealmaker. All right. And also hats off to TJ McGraw. I can see a lot of folks from the Real Estate Agent Collaborative Network. Love what TJ is doing. That is absolutely amazing. And then, of course, we are all here today gathered for what Eric and Tiffany started, and now I get to be a part of that, the On Purpose Investors. So let's just do the thing. So I'm just going to get right into it, of course. And when I get to the end, I'll take questions. We are going to record it. There's a lot of information, but let's look right at it. So first off, we need to determine if you're in the right place, because let me know if you're out there. Isn't there nothing more frustrating than getting to the end of a webinar and you thought it was about one thing and it was about another thing? And I'm not going to do that to you today. So let me tell you exactly what this webinar is about. All right, here we go. Number one, if you want more in life, but you don't know what's possible, then I think this is for you. Real estate agents. Yeah. All right. If you work hard, but you feel like you're not getting ahead, that's a big thing. And by the way, I'm not about to sell some dang set of Canva graphics or some YouTube videos. And I mean, agents, haven't we seen enough of that kind of stuff? That's not what's coming. Do you feel like you're stuck on a commission hamster wheel? Do you feel, I heard that at TJ's agent collaborative meeting once, somebody got up and one of the speakers said, do you feel like you're on a commission hamster wheel? That's important because sometimes we get in and we're just trying to spiral. We get this 2, 3, 5, 6% commission, whatever you negotiate. And you feel like you're spending 3/4 of it, right? Just to get in that basic commission that you need. So I say all that to say, we want to get you off that commission hamster wheel. Let's look at the next thing here. Or you don't have enough cash to invest in real estate. You think that that is true. Then this is the place for you to be. Because here's what you're going to learn if you stay with me long enough, and it's a lot of information to cover. All right, we're going to talk a lot today about mindset. That's the big thing, because I've discovered that most real estate agents aren't buying what they're selling. And I have never to this day understood why you would build other people's future and other people's dreams and not build your own. So we're going to understand why real estate investing is essential for long-term growth. Notice I didn't say it was optional. I said it was essential. We're going to talk about how to shift your mind from transactional to investment, because they are not necessarily the same. We're going to identify maybe some hidden skills that you have. We're not going to necessarily dig way into that, but most real estate agents are actually more prepared to be real estate investors than you know of. In fact, when I got started, because I was an investor first, I didn't know any contractors. I didn't know who was going to clean a property. I didn't know any of that. I had to figure it out the hard way. But I discovered that the nature of what you guys do is you already have these people. You already know them. So we're going to talk about that. And the last thing is we're going to identify some key principles that can help you become a successful investor. Now, here's what this webinar is not going to do. It's not going to do these things. If you're here for this, go ahead and log off. There's no point in staying. I don't want to waste your time. All right. We are not going to get into the nuts and bolts of every strategy. Now, that's a separate webinar that's going to take place later, but that is not the purpose of this one. So if you're here to know the ins and outs of the fix and flip, today's not that day for you. Or you want to know the Berta strategy, today's not the day. Manufactured home, today's not that day. All right. I'm not going to magically give you courage. I don't have a courage beverage that I'm going to hand you. So I will say, if you have no courage to get out and act on what you learned today, then this webinar is not for you. It's not going to change your life, because knowledge without the courage to act on it is meaningless. It's meaningless. So, and I do like to throw this in there. It's not going to create a better life for you if you're only short-term focused. So if your ultimate goal in existing in life is just to have big piles of cash that as soon as you spend it, it's gone, this is not the webinar for you. The last thing I will say on that as well is I'm not getting to the end of this and selling anything. So if you're here today because you want to pay me some money to get in a program, I am going to talk at the end of this about some free get-togethers for anybody that's interested, but there's no, I'm not selling a coaching program or anything like that today. So if you're here because you want a coaching program or something that you want to start tomorrow and pay me money, I mean, I'll take it, but that's not why I'm here. So let's keep trucking. Now, why am I qualified? I like to tell people I'm still learning, so maybe I'm not the most qualified person. I'm definitely not a guru or anything like that, but I have practiced what I've preached to real estate agents. I never give advice for someone to do something I haven't already done. And when I got started, I had a negative net worth. Now, these pictures you see, we got a lot to cover today, but that upper left-hand one, that's a picture of a house over on Roscoe Road. Now, if you saw the most recent issue of Coweta magazine, I'm recording this in March, you saw a picture of it after it was done. But that's what it looked like when I bought it. It was a train wreck. The picture on the right is actually now my personal residence. I like to throw that out there because there's this misconception that millionaires live in big mansions, rolling in Lexus. No, look, that's real estate agents who got a lot of cash, who didn't invest it and don't have a future. That is not me. I'm a real estate investor. I've built a 7-figure portfolio, but that's the house that I live in, which, by the way, my father-in-law built it. And it's an epic house. You'll have to come visit me. It's an earth berm house. That's a story for another day. Now, down at the bottom, if you look at the bottom on the right-hand side, that's an interesting picture. That is the bathroom of a house that I purchased that was an old mill house. It was beat to heck and back. And on the left is what it looked like when I got it finished. That property is also in Newnan, Georgia, and it had a gross cash flow last month of $2,400 a month. So let that sink in. By the way, that's one property, a gross. Now, a recap of my story, just really, really quickly, because this is important, because a lot of you out there are going to think that you have to be investing in real estate and like decades and stuff like that. That's not how it is. See that picture on the left? That's me as a high school band director. And a high school band director up until May of this year. I've been teaching band in addition to being a real estate agent. I like to throw that out there, and doing a team. Fast forward to the middle picture. Why did I get so serious about this real estate investing? Well, about 2.5 years ago, at 42 years of age, I found out my wife was pregnant with who's now our little 2-year-old, Jeremy. And I got serious because I was a high school coach, right? High school band, 40 hours a week on a good week, 60 to 80 on average. And I wanted to be home more. So I got a real estate license. I started buying real estate investment properties. And it took me just 2 years to build up enough cash flow to walk away from one of those jobs. And so while the rest of my friends are going to have to teach all the way into their 30s, I walked out of it in 3 years because of the stuff that I'm about to show you today. In fact, as of May, I won't be teaching school anymore because I don't have to teach school anymore. I get to work at a not-for-profit, a Christian college. I'm very passionate about it. I get to do some work down there because I'm not worried about money, not worried about a paycheck. I think that's great. And that picture on the right is of me hanging out with some of my people out there at Dealmaker Atlanta, which, by the way, I am not the guru of Dealmaker Atlanta. That is a community. We are all Dealmaker Atlanta. We'll talk about that later. But if you're out there and you want to come meet some of us and come hang, I think that's a great thing. Now, this is the last slide of in the feels, the woo, and then we're going to get into some details. All right. This is my family. My family is my dream life. I took a course a few years ago called Dream Life University. It happens to be through On Purpose Investor. Eric Vogel, who is one of the founders of On Purpose Investor, and he's the co-host with me in everything I do. He gets the credit for building it. It's his ship, baby. I'm riding on it. But I say that to say I took his course. He was my coach. That's a funny story later, but he did his student teaching with me. I was his mentor in education. And then he left teaching like 5 or 6 years. Dude left and retired in his 20s. I didn't think he'd make it. I was like, that's bullcrap. That dude will be back. Never came back. Never came back. So if you remember this picture I showed you a second ago, when that picture happened, I called him on the phone and I said, all right, your life plan was better than mine. Teach me the way. And I took Dream Life University and I found out, and here's the big thing on this, and we're going to get to the next slide, that if you're out there, most of you, the reality is you don't look for cash flow because your dream is too small. Your dream is just a car. Maybe your dream is just a house. Your dream is just going to that broker conference with just that right outfit on. See, my dream is changing the world. There's wells in Africa that I want to dig. There's churches that I want to support. There's lives that I want to change. At Dealmaker, man, they're giving mobility through wheelchairs to people. Like, there are big things that you can do. Your life is bigger than just the number of transactions that you can complete. And I like to throw that out there for you. And this is just our timeline. I'm moving on because I'm looking at it. You didn't come today just to hear about me. You want to talk about mindset. But I'll simply say this in this timeline, if you're looking on it, from the time we had a baby on the way till May 28th, when I walk away from, and now I'm doing nothing but real estate and nothing but investing, which, by the way, I will make enough money to pay my bills even if I never sold a single house. That's what we're talking about today, friends. It works. And we did it in just a little over 2 years. And I'm not that smart. I'm clearly not that good looking. I'm so glad my wife married me. I mean, can we just be honest about this? I mean, how did this ugly dude marry that? The story for another day. All right. But I just want to point that out there, that if I can do it with this ugly mug and no skills, you can do it too. So let's talk about this. Our entire life changed the moment we choose to live with a long-term mindset. And if I was going to notice the biggest thing today is we're going to talk about long-term mindset, because you're going to have to give up some cash on the short term to make millions in the long term. Now, a disclaimer, I am not a guru. I'm not throwing Benjamins out there at you today. I may have a little more experience than you. And that's why I think I'm the perfect one to lead the webinar, because I'm not 20 steps ahead of you. I'm just one. And I didn't do it in yesterday's market. I'm doing it right here in this market. And we're still actively out here buying, trying to get to the next step. So a couple things to keep in mind. The key to finding a good deal is to stop looking at the MLS through your agent eyes, but to look at the MLS through a different set of eyes. Now, yes, for you smart ones who are more advanced, yes, I buy off-market deals and all that other stuff. But today we're just talking about the tool that you have right now. Forget all the advanced strategies. That's a separate session. You, if you're a realtor, a real estate agent, you're watching this right now, you have access to the MLS, which means you have access to a tool that can make you a multi-millionaire if you will let it do that for you. You just have to look at things a little bit different. And then you have to take some action, just baby steps. And the last thing I'll say on this is perfection is often the enemy. Now, why is that important? We're analyzing deals for clients all of the time. We are constantly a CMA analyzed for a client, considering value analyzed for a client. What's its appreciation and equity? You have analyzed for a client. You have all the skills you need right now. You're just hung up on not doing it for yourself for whatever reason. I say you need an intentional roadmap. So here's some reflection questions that you should ask yourself right now if you're watching this. Number one, how long can you go? How long can you go without working before your income stops? Now, some of you, if you're like me, I'm at a cloud-based brokerage. I've been building a business at my cloud-based brokerage. And the reality is I got a team. I've got agents I've sponsored. I get some checks even if I don't close a deal. But the reality of it is, at some point, if we're not, someone in the universe is closing some deals, even on my team, the cash goes away. I'm not worried about it because I got what I'm about to show you today. But let me ask you, if you're out there, mindset difference, piles of cash. What happens when you quit going to work? Can you take 6 to 9 months off to go backpacking somewhere. I was about to say through Australia. I guess there's mountains in Australia. I don't know. I've never backpacked there, but one of these days I'll have to tell you the story about Eric and I hiking up a mountain. That was crazy. Not doing that here, but whew, I'm not a hiker. I want to be in a cruise ship drinking a margarita or some sweet tea or something like that. Okay, moving on. Number two, what would your financial situation look like if you own assets in addition to commissions? So let's get right into it. Let's talk about mindset shift number one. Commission only focus is not protecting you, it's actually killing you. Number one, why selling real estate is not the end game. Number one is the hamster wheel. A lot of you feel like you are on this hamster wheel. I remember I was at the Real Estate Agent Collaborative. And if you haven't been yet, there's a Facebook page. Go type that in. It's agents from any brokerage, anywhere. It's awesome. We're from all over the place, just trying to do big things together. And the speaker talked about this hamster wheel, the commission hamster wheel. And I heard people around me go, that's me. Yeah. How can I get more Google marketing? How can I do Facebook? Sphere of influence. Don't we need another podcast about sphere of influence? I mean, if we just sent one more newsletter, we're all chasing that commission because we have to. See, I don't have to chase commission. I want commission. I want the money. I don't have to chase it because I've got something else. Number two, most agents never actually accumulate wealth. They gather wealth to pay some bills. Maybe they get a savings account, which is almost a joke if you look at interest on that. But they never accumulate true wealth. True wealth. Number three, the wealth gap of the average agent versus investor agents is quite huge. I love it when I had my perception of what a millionaire is, and then I went to my first investor group. I was all dressed up. It was Triple E in Fayetteville. I don't know if any of y'all are out there listening remember when I walked in that door, man, I was dressed up, had on my best shirt, I had on my best pants, and I thought I was the man. I get in there and I meet all these people who are in Hawaiian shirts from Walmart, some shorts, some flip-flops. And this is what I discovered, that people who have actual wealth aren't trying to impress someone. They've already achieved their goals and their dreams. They're dressing for comfort because they've built a life. Just something to throw that out there for you. Number four, we're going to look today at some case studies of agents who built generational wealth. Because see, real wealth won't just be that money that you have, but what are you leaving for your family when you leave? Because if you're just leaving cash, it's going to get spent, right? If you just put it in the stock market, it's not always going to be there. Here's a mind shift number two for you. Truly understanding the power of owning versus selling. And by the way, I'm not judgy. I do both. So I'm not trying to talk you away from being a real estate agent and selling real estate. In fact, I'm not going to lie to you. We were on our mastermind call today with everyone on our team and our broker. And we're like, dude, we're crafting out goals to sell some houses, dude. Like I'm going to crush it. But it's not my only goal. So why real estate is the number one wealth building vehicle? Number one is appreciation. I'm going to show you why that matters in a second when we look at Janice versus Rob. But there's appreciation. Number two is cash flow. See, I'm sitting here today and I didn't close anything today, but I still got checks that came in the mail because it's the second weekend or the second week in this month, which means my bi-weekly tenants just sent me cash. That's a cool feeling. Absolutely. It's cool. Number three is loan buy down. Some of you are like, I just don't, how am I going to pay those mortgages? I mean, I don't pay the mortgages. My tenants are paying the mortgages. And reason number four is tax benefits. Some of you right now, and I can tell you this because I pay taxes both ways. I'm a CPA. The reality of it is if you're just focused on commissions, the government is getting a chunk of your money. It's depending on where you're at, somewhere between 27, or if you're just like me and I'm getting commissions and I'm flipping houses, it's about 30%. But as an investor, I won't quote the number, but it's in the teens. It's much less than that. And I and my CPA am on a mission through the power of real estate and tax benefits to actually appear that I own nothing. And this is recorded on Facebook. And I mean that in a very legal sense. Anything that I have, I put legally. I'm not offering any legal or tax advice. I'm simply saying through the legal way, it is legally in the tax system because the federal government wants you to provide housing for people. People need a place to stay. And as a real estate agent, a realtor, you can help them with that. I'm just saying you own the property in the process of doing it. Did you know that owning just a few rentals can get you to financial independence and get you there faster? Financial independence, not working for the man, not selling more houses, not being a luxury agent thinking I just got to sell that $1-2 million property. I'm talking about financial independence. I can go 3 years, never sell a house. I go the rest of my life and never sell another house and be just fine. Every time I sell a house, it's just spending money. Now let that sink in. That you can build a life for yourself to where your assets pay your bills. And now this 2 or 3 million or whatever you're doing, I'm not doing that much as an agent just yet. I'm not 2 million in net. But let's say you're just a mega, like you're on that TV show, Chasing Sunset or whatever on Netflix. You're that level. That's your spending money, baby. That's what you could do if you wanted to. Number two is agent advantage. You have an advantage over the masses. I mean, let me be honest with you. Today, someone sends me, they know that I'm a real estate agent. So what do? They talk to me about some land that they have that they want to sell. See, I got the phone call first. It's never even been on the market yet. They called me, but they know I buy and they know I'm a real estate agent. Now I can help them sell it or I may buy it. So they send it to me first before anyone else gets it. Then let's say there's a house on this. I buy this property. I'm going to negotiate a commission for me to buy the property because when you buy the property, right, you can still get your commission even though you're buying for yourself. So I let someone else pay me to buy their property, which they gave me the money to fix it up, that I then put a tenant in it. And then I just rinse and repeat. Now, on a more advanced session later, we're going to talk about how to work with a private money lender. That's not today because the house before the last one I actually bought and I never had a single dime in that property. Let that sink in. We'll come back to that later. Number three, as an holder, I can have it all. I can have a seller. I can have all pieces, all sides of the transaction. Or if you want to be a flipper, which is not technically buy and hold, but you could flip a property. I could buy it. I get a commission for buying it. Then I sell it. And then I don't have to pay myself the commission for selling it, unless you're like me and you want to because of some tax reasons we could talk about later. Now, let's dig into this a little bit because, again, I want to get you in the mindset. I want you to understand that if you're not investing in real estate, I just want you to see what you're walking away from today. All right, so let's talk about this. This is Rob. Rob's a good looking dude, man. I like Rob. Look at them shoes. He's got that belt. He's a little upset though. Let's what if Rob had kept just one rental 10 years ago? We're going to look at this a little bit. First off, let's look at what Rob has been doing. And Rob is average. By the way, there is a friend of mine that actually attends our investor group, and he's the real Rob. These are his actual numbers when he added it up when he took Dream Life University. He was paying $273 a month on subscription services. $241 a month on entertainment. Some of you are like, I don't spend that on entertainment. Yeah, you do. You're eating that Taco Bell. Come on, Starbucks. That's me. $500 a month on a car payment because he's trying to keep up with the Joneses. So he's got a car he doesn't need. That is $1,014 a month. Now, some of you, I could pause right there for some of you go, I don't have the money to invest in real estate. Yeah, you do. Even before you got a commission, the average person right there, that's a mortgage payment that they could get a house, pay a mortgage, put somebody else in it. Because where I live right here in Coweta County, the average rents are $1,600 to $1,800 a month. And if you're in one of the counties surrounding me, yours is higher. So let that sink in. Right there, a non-investor, maybe you're not an agent, you're just listening. You can jump off right there. You probably could save enough money right now to make your little payment while someone else pays rent and buys the house for you. I mean, that's a jumping off point right there. It's not where I'm going today, but I want to throw that out there for you. Now, how do you know if you're stuck? Because I know, look, I know what's going on. I was like this too. I sit in a room. I'm like this at church on Sundays. It'd be like the pastor's talking to somebody out there, but he ain't talking to me. He ain't talking to me. He's talking to that guy. I don't know. Maybe I'm talking to you. I'm talking to you like this because I'm talking to a version of me just a couple years ago. Did I mention that my partner Eric got to investing? I actually knew about investing before he did, but he had the courage to act years before I did. And now he's years ahead of me. How do you know if you're stuck? Well, let's see if you're trapped. Number one, do you think that you need commission to survive? You don't, you need cash flow. See, if I go out and I get a $500 commission, the second I spend the $500, it's gone. But if I get a $500 cash flow, once I spend it next month, I get another 500, and I get that pretty much for the life of the property, which I own two houses that are far older than the average human being. One of those was that picture that I showed you. That house was built in I think the 1920s. It's coming up on 100 years old, and it makes me $2,400 a month, baby. $2,400 a month. Some of you think I don't make enough money to invest in real estate. If you're a real estate agent or realtor and you're doing just the average of the top end of transaction count, yes, you are. You are. You are. Number three, I can't use my commission payments as down payments. I've actually heard somebody say that, and for the life of me, I can't figure out who told you that. Who told you that? By the way, why is it that we're surrounded with all this money and we seem to think that banks are the only people that lend money? In fact, when I buy a property today, when I initially buy the property, I don't use a bank. I don't, and I remember that was really hard for me to know that there were people out there whose business is to lend money to other people without all the struggles of the bank. That is their business. They want to do that. And if you're out there and you don't think that people who lend money to other people exist, well, you come on April 22nd to Dealmaker Atlanta, or if you're watching this, go to dealmakeratlanta.com, come to the next one. Let me introduce you to people whose business is doing that. Like they're in the room. I think at the last session, we had like 6 or 7 that was with us. We've had as many as 10 or 15. And Jim Ingersoll, who leads the big deal maker in Virginia. I mean, he hosts a whole conference in Orlando with just a room full of people trying to lend folks money. So money is not scarce. Money is abundant. That's a big shift. That's a big mind shift because we're focused on helping. I'll use the term regular people buy a property. So we think money is scarce, but money is actually quite abundant. Here's another one. People think I'm a used car salesman if I become an investor. No, they don't. Actually, you solve problems. I think of another property I have over on Burnham Road. That was actually a client of mine. Well, when the house we already knew was in pretty rough shape, but when the inspection came back, we found that there was a whole massive termite hit. And when I say termites, I mean it was bad. And pretty much in that moment, this house went from this value down to this value. See, they had a problem and they had a baby coming on the way, and they needed to get this deal closed for their family. Now, when I bought their house, I bought it a good chunk less than what it would have sold for, but I got them out and then helped them as their realtor get them into a better house, one that's great for their little girl who's thriving. Now, let me tell you something. When I did that for them, was I a used car salesman or did I solve their problem? By the way, you can get on Google and see their great review. They were thrilled. They were ecstatic about that. And it happened, excuse me, to be a good deal for me too. So let's look now at mindset shift number 3. Let's talk a little bit about overcoming the commission only trap. Here's some mindset shifts. Commission is a tool that gives me an advantage in investing. Notice I said, for me, a commission is a tool that gives me an advantage. In one of my upcoming sessions, I'm going to talk about how I will get a commission. I use that commission to start the work on a renovation, and then my private money lender will then give me the draws back, and then I'll use that to snowball the project through so that at the end of the deal, I actually have none of my cash in it because the cash that I started the process was actually all the way back here with the seller. See, a non-agent investor is very limited on how they can do that. But as agent investors, commission, it's a tool for us. By the way, just to throw this out there for you, you know there's no rule that says that you can't negotiate for seller concessions on a property that you buy, right? You know, there's no rule that says that you can't negotiate for the seller to pay you a 4% commission to help you have more money to start your renovation, right? Or how about a recent one where you negotiate yourself a 4% commission and then get concessions from the seller? You can do some powerful tools. Now you remember when you're buying for you, this separate thing with NAR we can talk about later. You have to put in the contract, you have to disclose that you're a real estate professional. You have to make sure that who you're negotiating with knows that you're a professional so you don't take advantage of them. So I'm saying everything's above bar. But I'm just letting you know that you are educated real estate agents. You have that tool. As long as you disclose it and do so honestly and openly and always act ethically, because I care more about my community than myself. In fact, I do what I do for my community. All right, let's move on. The sellers are going to pay me to buy their houses. We just explained that a little bit. Commission checks are down payments on my future. Commission checks are not, if you're just using commission checks to go on vacation, see, commission checks for me are down payments on my future. And I'm going to have a great future. My network could become my net worth. So within my CRM, when I meet someone that is going to be a home inspector, do you know who knows where all the homes are in the entire community that need someone to come in and buy those homes because they're derelict, they're hoarder houses, and that poor seller can't sell it on the open market? Do you know who your best friend is? Dude, it's Andrew Allen with Choice Home Inspections. I'll tell you who it is. And so many other home inspectors. By the way, that guy is what an amazing investor. He knows his stuff. I say that to say your home inspector, there's a partner. That's your network. It's your net worth. Electrician, you know electricians. Guess who else is going in all these houses and knowing and finding all these off-market deals that you think don't exist? Your entire network could be sourcing deals for you right now, real estate professional. And that's something that you have that non-licensed people typically don't have. Maybe a few, but typically those guys don't have the tools that you have. By the way, what's in it for me with this little meeting that we're have right here? I mean, most of you are from different brokers. We're from all over the place because I know that you now know that I buy houses and that I'm serious about it. And when you find your next house at 75% ARV, that's another session for another day, maybe you'll call me. Maybe you'll let me buy it from you because we're stronger when we work together. So here's what I'm saying. I'm telling you today. Challenge yourself to ask when you go to buy something, do you really need it? Begin to think differently. When you're on the MLS, start looking for yourself. Start analyzing some deals. That's a mind shift that I want you to really think about. Is when you're looking at the MLS, quit looking at it just to find the pictures of the prettiest homes. You want to know what my number one search is? I'm searching for the ugliest looking houses that I can find. I love searching as is, handyman special. Keep putting handyman special, by the way, in the Georgia MLS and the FMLS. I'm the dude that's searching it. I'm your people. When you say handyman special, I know something bad's about to come. You know what I love? I love when I walk in a house and I go, cat pee smells like money. See, most agents walk away from those. I'm offering value. I go, smells like money. Let's do this deal. I got you. I'm going to get you out of this. So think about that. Except, by the way, that it's going to be hard. Have I had a deal go upside down? Oh, yes, I have. But because I'm a licensed real estate agent, I had the connections to help me get out of it. I bet you do too. I bet if you got in a house right now, especially if you're an agent that's been licensed for a while, who thinks you can't become a real estate investor because you're so scared you're going to go south. I bet when you find that electrical issue in the house you didn't know, that that electrician that you have sent millions of dollars of business to over the last 4 years, you're going to pay them and you need to pay them what they're worth. But I bet they prioritize your call. Maybe you purchase a property with private money, then we'll talk about refinancing it into a long-term, low-interest note. I use a DSCR loan, but I've got a couple guys. Uh, do you think they're going to pick up my call? Do you think Brandon Respris with Nexa Mortgage is going to pick up my call when I have refinanced 3 or 4 of my personal houses with him? Of course he is. Just like when he calls me, I'm picking up his call because he's taking care of my clients. We all know people as real estate professionals. That's important. So let's just do, I just got a cramp. Isn't that crazy? Let's do a little scenario. All right. Some of you are like, okay, let's get out of this pie in the sky stuff. Let's talk about the opportunity today if you walk out of here and you do nothing. For those folks that want to see some math, here is some math. And I'm over here now. I'm pulling up a chat GPT prompt because some of you are going to ask me how I calculated this math because you're going to think I'm making this stuff up. So I'm actually going to read you the chat GPT prompt when I get here. All right. So here's the opportunity of doing nothing. By the way, my wife out there, hopefully she's watching. I love you, sweetheart. Rachel, JRB Dream Team. She's the pretty one. I put her picture on the signs and suddenly everybody's buying houses. Back in the day when my ugly mug was on there, I wouldn't sell nothing. Here's the opportunity of doing nothing. This is Rob. We already met Rob. Poor Rob. And this is Janice. Remember Janice, if you're out there? Janice, this is Janice. All right. Now, Rob sells 30 homes a year. Woo, woo. I mean, that makes Rob, this is some of you, by the way, your goal is to sell 30 homes a year. It's one of my goals too, man. 30 homes? Heck yeah. Well, I mean, let's check what Janice did. Janice just purchased 2 rentals and then held just those 2 rentals for 10 years. Now, they both made the same income. We're pretending they both did the same stuff. The only difference is Janice made a purchase with some of her money 10 years ago. Who did better? You already know the answer if you're still here. Janice did better by a long shot. So let's talk about some numbers. Now, while you're looking at this chart, I'm going to read you the chat GPT chart for all my calculator folks out there who are now going to want to check and see and check behind me and check the math. So here is how I queued chat GPT. I said, I want to do a comparison between 2 made up characters, Rob and Janice. Both are real estate agents. Both earn a 3% commission when they represent a buyer and that buyer buys a home. Run a comparison breakdown between the two, assuming that Rob sells 30 homes a year at $300,000 per home. That's around about an average that we kind of are at, with some more, some less, but I just use 300,000. For these transactions, I just made the assumption, by the way, of what it is at my broker. So I assume an 85-15 split. Janice, on the other hand, she didn't do what Rob did. She bought 2 homes for herself the first year and then doesn't buy any more. She gets a 3% commission from the seller as the agent representing herself in the split. She then rents each one of those 2 houses for $1,800 per month. That's the average in my community. And based on what you know about the U.S. average housing market and factoring in equity, appreciation, and loan buy down, let's see here, and rent, and assuming Janice purchased her property at 80% loan to value, and using the average interest rates and any other relevant information, please show the breakdown of wealth between the two after 10 years, highlighting if one is better than the other. Gosh darn, I got this cramp in my leg today, so forgive me for like doing a dance here. So here's the chart. You see it in front of you. One of them fared a lot better. In fact, the data clearly shows that Janice did better, and not by a little bit. Janice did better by a lot. She invested in real estate, and she ends up with significantly greater long-term wealth than Rob. Even though Rob earns a high commission annually, his total wealth after 10 years, now we just assumed he didn't spend any of it, but let's just pretend he kept it all, was $2,295,000. While Janice's total wealth, factoring in property, equity, and rental income, was $3,935,297. So I'm going to go back from this napkin breakdown for those of you who are out there as I walk around my office. Some of you say you don't have the money to invest in real estate. I want to point this out to you today. Not investing in real estate, that's what it's costing you. That's the cost of that. You're actually walking away from $1 million in equity. And someone goes, but that's equity in the house. You can't just pull it out. Wait a second, real estate agents. We are the one group of people that can pull it out of the house. We are the one group of licensed agents that can actually sell the house and be the agent and get out of that. Remember, and also remember back at the beginning of this, I mentioned that she purchased at 80% loan to value, which is an easy number. I buy at 75% after repair value for days. So that's an easy number. Check. I hope you don't miss that right there. That's a mindset shift for you today. If you're not doing it, that's what you're walking away from. Now let's go one step further because I'm really going to blow your mind today. Let's assume over those years, Janice is doing what my minimum goal is every year. This is my minimum goal that my wife Rachel and I try to do. Let's assume she buys just 2 a year. Now this year, my goal is 5. But let's just assume I just got 2. I missed it. We're going to assume the same 85-15 split, 3% buyer commission. That's an average. Sometimes we're higher, sometimes we're lower. But Janice buys 2 a year. Now look at what just happens. With Janice acquiring 2 properties every year for 10 years, her total wealth skyrockets to $15,819,780, outperforming significantly Rob. Janice's total rental income was over $2.68 million. That's right, just her rental income. Now forget equity and appreciation. Some of you go, you're current on that. Okay. Just her rental income. Far better. Now, she was buying these initially. So yeah, at first, Rob he was probably eating, a little bit higher on the hog for the first 2 years. But in the long run, 10 years later, Janice is the winner. And her total wealth is 7 times higher than Rob's. So action step. I want you to think about this real quickly. Which one of these 2 are you? I've picked a little bit today because I attended a broker conference a little while back. It's not a brokerage I'm in or anything like that. And I was at there. It was real interesting. They were all social media influencers. They're doing all the social media, man. They are, they are all dressed up, big cars. And then you walk in, how much do you own? What do you mean? I don't own any real estate. And I remember looking at my wife going, what do you mean they don't own real estate? And out of this massive broker conference, we discovered that, and by the way, there were some super successful ones there too, but the vast majority, probably thousands, were not buying what they were selling. And I thought in that moment, this is the opportunity that they're walking away from. So I got to ask you, are you getting closer to your dream life? Now, I go back to, we just showed you some big numbers, but just at a basic level, this is a slide that Eric had in Dream Life University. He talks a lot more at Dream Life because Dream Life is for anyone, real estate or not real estate. This is just a basic $1,014 a month that maybe Rob cut out of his spending. He wasn't trying to invest in real estate, though. We just showed you it's a way better plan. And let's just say he put in the stock market at a 4% return. If you realize that real estate investing is not for you, don't walk away from this right here. Look at that, year 10, year 20, year 30. And that is just investing $1,014 a month in something. Now imagine if you did it in real estate. What's it worth in 30 years at 5% appreciation? Again, thinking about that initial investment. Well, that's a very real number right there. $893,000. That's a 5% appreciation. So mindset shifts, here's where they're at. And I know I've talked a lot at you today because I'm real passionate about this. I want to help people. I just did early retirement, guys. I want that for all of you out there, every last one of you. Here's the T-bar. This is Rob. He's spending more time at work. He doesn't have the power when someone says that the only way they're going to see that house is if it's at midnight on a Tuesday and he's got a 2-year-old at home. Some of you right now have to say yes to that. But see, Rob's current position, he spends all his time at work. His current position, he doesn't have a secure retirement. Now, I'm very, very blessed at my brokerage that we actually have streams of income that include a very high performing stock and all that other stuff. And some of you out there probably have that too. But maybe you don't have a secure retirement plan. Number 3, His family doesn't get to take vacations because he can't say no. So he's got to be at that closing. Let me ask you this. If you had a house under contract and it was $1 million house, could you afford to either walk away from that contract to take your family vacation, or could you refer just to give it to somebody else and just take a 35% referral fee? Some of you'd be like, I can't do that. Whereas I'm over here like, I could do it and not think twice about it because I have rental real estate. Number four, I work paycheck to paycheck. Maybe that's you. Nothing wrong with that. I was there. I spent most of my life there. Here's your future position, though. I spend my days with family. Family is important to me. That's the fuel and my fuel tank. Eric talks a lot about that. If you know Eric, fuel in the fuel tank. Number two, I have a safe retirement. Number three, my family travels whenever and wherever with me. And number four, I have a steady income. So we talked a lot about thinking like an investor, cash flow versus equity and versus appreciation. Here's just a few things I want to leave with you. Here's some metrics that can make you millions. Metric number one that you need to know about is cash flow is what is left after all expenses. So if this interests you today, when we say cash flow is not, I have a mortgage payment of 1,500 and the rent is 1,800. The difference of 300 is cash flow. Nah, not necessarily. There's capital X expenses. There are other things there. We give 10% to charity because I'm not just doing this for me. I'm doing this for my community. Cash flow is what is left after all of that. Now, we'll do a separate course later where we can break that metric down, but that's one metric you need to understand. Metric number two, equity. You need to understand what is the difference in value versus the difference in debt. Some of you are loan payment averse, and I did Dave Ramsey too. I'm not against. In fact, if you're struggling in debt, you should start with Financial Peace University. I think it's the best place to start. It's where most of us got our start, and I think it's great. But there's a difference between value and debt. You want your value to far outrank your debt. Some of you are debt averse instead of seeing debt as a tool. Debt also, just like a gun is a tool, right? If I'm going hunting, I'm not going to go hunting for a deer with a knife. Number one, that'd be funny, me chasing a deer, because I'm 300 pounds large and me and a deer, that'd be hilarious. But you're not going to get a deer with a knife. You're going to get a deer with a bow or a shotgun, right? So debt can be a tool as long as you use it as a tool, because we also know that a weapon can do bad things too. So keep that in mind. Metric number three, appreciation. That is what is increasing in value over time. And that is the biggest number one beauty of real estate. When you own a property and you take care of it, over time, it becomes worth more. It's going to go through some downturns. Let's go, agents. 2008. Yeah, we all know, right? We live that out more than anybody. They go through some downturns, but then they go through some upturns, and it averages up. Can we just all agree that we got to quit always telling the story of 2008? And then why do we leave off the story of 2022 and 2023? We're literally coming out of a period of one of the greatest appreciations of real estate in all time. But some of us are still telling the story of 2008, which should be told. They should both be told. That's what I'm suggesting. But that's so funny. I just realized, but metric three will make you Rick. Who's Rick? I don't know how Rick. It'll make you rich. Metric number three is what over a 20 or 30 year period of time is going to make you a multimillionaire. Because imagine if you purchased the real estate, you held it, you took care of it over time. Think about what that could do for you. What could it do for your family? What if you passed away and left 20 assets that you had been paying for 20 years? What would that do for your family tree? I mean, if you die as a realtor, and if I die as a realtor, I guess we leave some stuff for our family. But can you imagine, what if this didn't even appeal to you, cash flow and commission, but maybe you come from a family where a lot of people didn't have a place to stay, and you just left everybody in your family a house? I mean, some basic things like that, just to consider. Some more. An agent asks, what is the commission? Now, don't get me wrong. I do that too. I have figured out a way. If you and I end up on opposite sides of the transaction, you best believe we're going to figure out, what are you offering a buyer agent commission? I'm not saying that I show everything to my clients. If it's the best thing for them and it's what they're looking for, I'm here to serve my clients for sure. But of course, I don't want to do free work, so I'm thinking about it. But as an investor, that's not my first question. Commission is not my first question. I'm thinking, what is the return on my investment? Instead of how do I make $500, I'm thinking, how can I take $500 and turn that into $500 a month for the rest of my life? That's a way different number. Way different number. Here's some formulas to make you rich. This is something that you should take a look at. Formulas to make you rich, and they're pretty easy. Cash on cash return. By the way, there's 10 of these formulas. These are just a couple for you to mess around with. That is the annual cash flow divided by the total cash invested multiplied by 100. So when I'm back on the MLS and I'm cruising for stuff, how am I just sort of looking through, trying to figure out? There's the first one. I'm looking for cash on cash. When I find the right cash on cash return, now suddenly I go, that's interesting. Number two, return on investment, ROI, net profits divided by income cost multiplied by 100. That gives me my return on investment back to ROI. So what is a basic path that you could do this stuff today? Now, I'm not saying you run out and do this. We'll talk later about some training stuff. But let's say you wanted to get out, this really interests you greatly, and you want to just start doing some of this today. Here's a few things. I'm looking at all these comments. I just see, look at that. Aha. All right. So let's just say you want to get going. Number one, buy a house with a good rental potential at 80% loan to value. Now, for my more advanced, this isn't using private money, 75%. That's a different core. They're just talking basic. Go buy a house at 80% of the value. Number two, keep the buyer commission the same. When you get your buyer commission, whatever that is, maybe you negotiate that around 3%, whatever you negotiate, but get your buyer commission. Step three, use your buyer commission to fund a light renovation. Step four, use your license to help you place tenants. And step five, enjoy the cash flow, even when you go on vacation. Now, obviously, if it was that easy, everybody would do it. But I will tell you, my first rental in Newnan on Welcome to Arnco Road, I followed this plan right here. And by the way, if you're out there and think these properties don't exist, call me, shoot me an email. Let's get together one weekend, grab coffee, and I'll walk in and let you see them. You can go, oh, that's the house. That little house I bought, I paid 20% down because I didn't know what I was doing. I would never pay 20% down now. I don't even pay 3% down now. But back in the day, I didn't know what I didn't know, and I got started. So I found a house, 80% loan to value, and then I paid 20% down, and then I followed that plan. That house today averages $658 a month in cash flow. And I just followed that plan, nothing complicated. So this is what I hope that you decided today. This is what we hope you decide. Number one, I kind of hope, this is kind of edgy, I kind of hope you realize that you might be trapped. You know, you got to acknowledge it. Look, if you're focused on only commission, you are always going to be stuck on this hamster wheel. You're always going to be there. You always got to get, it's almost like a drug addict, got to get to the next hit. But I do want you to realize that there is hope. If you buy cash flowing real estate, you can live an amazing life. And it's the fastest way to become a millionaire and then stay there. And that your journey is just the beginning. So I do want to show you something that we've got going on, and I'm going to answer questions. We are not selling anything. Please, no. I'm not a guru. That's not what's going on. But if you want to build an empire, we want to show you how, because today's goal was to give you the mindset. But Rachel and I want to do what Eric did for us. It's the reason why I'm a part of him On Purpose Investor now. It's the reason why I do Dealmaker Atlanta. And so the following slides, it's all about free opportunity to get together and do some things if that's something that's interesting to you. So here's what we've got going on in the fall. We're putting together a 9-module system to help people go beyond the sale as investors. It's not for free. This is anyone. I'm gonna collect your email address, and when we get it ready, I'm gonna email it to you. And if you're interested in having access to all this for free, then that's it. That's where I'm going. So I hope you'll listen and not get hung up on that. But here's the modules. Number one, we already kind of covered some of module one, but module two, we're going to dig into some actual strategies that work well for agents. Like, what is the burst strategy? What is flipping? Dude, my boy Joe just taught me about some manufactured home investing. Like, that's got to be on the slide. Like, but we're going to dig in. Also, if you don't want to be an investor out there and you want to work with people like me and sell me houses, okay, come check this out and figure out what all my formulas are and then send me properties. Why else would I be doing this? Heck yeah. Sign me up, Scotty. Module three is understanding the math behind the BRRRR. How do you analyze the numbers? Module four, building your real estate investing dream team. Here's a little hint, nudge, nudge. Real estate agents, you probably already have half of that done. You just don't know it. You haven't activated them, but you probably have half of that done. That's so funny. Look at that. Somebody is messaging me right now a property to run a sale. Okay, anyways, we'll keep going. Number six, I couldn't have asked for a better illustration of how this works than that right there. Module six, managing the rehab or the renovation. How do you manage it? A lot of you are like, I don't have time for doing that. Here's a little news flash for you. Friends, I've been teaching and still managed all those houses and managed all those renovations. How did I do it? Well, we have tools and systems. I don't sell any of them. I'm just going to show you where they're at, and then you can figure out what works for you. But believe it or not, like guys, I don't. Do I look like a plumber? Hats off to all the plumbers. That's a dang hard job. But I don't go plumb houses at 1 a.m. in the morning. Like, that's crap. That's funny. That's crap. I can't do it. I'm not skilled. I need good people. But we can show you some systems. I literally just completely flipped, redid electrical, redid plumbing in the whole house, and Josh never swung a hammer. If you come to the next Dealmaker meeting in April, you can meet the guy that swings the hammer. That dude, Don, is amazing. I mean, what would I do without him? I say that to say, but you don't have to be the guy that swings the hammer if you're good at something else. And for most of us, it's finding deals, and I can show you how to find the financing. All right, moving on. Finding the deal. We're going to talk about that. Module six, we're managing the rehab. Module seven is the refinance. You got to get your money back out. The refinance is not hard. A lot of you think you can't get approved for a property. By the way, did you know there's a lie out there that says that you can only have so many properties on your credit report? Not true. Just depends on how you buy them and what entity you're buying them in. That's something Tiffany Vogel taught me. I mean, I'm just throwing that out there for you, but the refinance, you can use a DSCR refinance, and they don't care about your personal credit. They care about how well the property will perform. And there's a lot of great DSCR lenders all around the place, and these are banks, and that's it. I'll stop there. Number 8 is how to become a landlord. Like that landlord. First off, I grew up obviously in America, and we're a different society. But when I visited Europe, that title, Lord, like I just thought, I'm a lord, I'm a landlord. None of you probably find that funny, but it's like I'm a landlord. But it sounds hard, and it's not. For example, tenants don't mail me money. I use Rent Ready. They have an app that they pay their rent on the app, and it just goes into my checking account. If they need a maintenance request, then they just go on there and it takes care. Okay, anyways, we're going to teach you all that kind of stuff, if that's stuff that you're interested in. Module 9 is looking to the future, and we're going to talk about scaling beyond individual properties. So here's kind of what makes that a little bit unique. It's the kind of breakdown for all that stuff. I'm not going to get into it. But 9 weeks, there's 9 modules. There's a workbook that comes with it because I'm a visual learner, and so I like that. We're going to do weekly group sessions similar to this one, but not so long and just me talking. We're really all just going to kind of get on and talk about where we're at and kind of help each other. By the way, because can you imagine if you get a group of 9 to 10 real estate agents who are all trying to find and source deals, the power, and 9 people looking? Why do you think you have to be the only one looking? I was on a great mastermind call today with some agents out of our brokerage. And let me tell you, I mean, we're all going places and we're working together. we're going to talk a little bit about that, about you shouldn't be doing this alone. Number 3, let's see, we were talking about Zoom sessions. Number 4, I have a base camp where all the forms and contracts and things that I use. And yes, I have some contracts that aren't GAR forms. I've got those. Sometimes we use those. Sometimes you can use some special stipulations to your advantage. I don't give all of those out, but there's a couple in there that I think that you might find particularly useful. Now, I put this on there because I know some of you are, if you're out there and you're looking for a team, we do these for our team. By the nature of I have to know the transaction. Obviously, if you're not in our brokerage with us in our group, I don't think I can do it. So this isn't a recruitment session, but if you're out there, for those people that are in there, Rachel actually and I are looking for a few agents that we can help walk them through the deal, like help you in your transaction, run the numbers, and then when you get it, actually walk the property with you, be there with you, help you manage your contractors, and literally walk you from the start to the finish of your first investment transaction. Email me if that's something that interests you. I'm not here to sell that today or anything like that. So I think this is my last slide, and then I'm going to answer some questions. So if that's something that I just showed you that interests you, I will post a link in the Dealmaker Atlanta Facebook group. And the link is simple. It just says, hey, if this interests you, you go sign up here, you give me your email address. And then when we get it together, I'm going to send out an email, and everyone that puts in gets it. There is no money. Obviously, down the road, it'll be a course. And if I do a good job, you can tell me. And if I suck, I'll know. And then that's that. And we won't do it again. But anyways, that kind of is all of that. Now, I'm stopping here. I'm going to go back and answer some questions. And let's see, if you got a question, feel free to type it in the chat. TJ, where do I get Courage beverages from? TJ, that's pretty funny. I don't know. Maybe, I mean, maybe at the brewery. Do they sell a beverage called Courage? That would be kind of cool. Dakota, I'm going to get you for this. Drop a 1 in the chat to agree that Josh isn't good looking. Well, at least they don't call me the outdoor agent. No, I'm just kidding. Now, by the way, if you're out there in Griffin, you would know a great agent. Dakota is the man. That's it. Dean said, nope, he's the man. So for that reason right there, Dean, I'm going to find you $2 million in real estate, and I'm going to give it to you. I want no commission. I'm just going to find it and give that to you. And this is Eric laughing about the fact that we did this hike up the mountain. Eric is very much in shape. I mean, look at the dude. The dude's good looking. He's in shape. He's doing things. And then you have me. I am a person of size. So yeah, hiking was not necessarily the greatest journey for me, but I did the very best that I could. Yep. See, there we go. Haha. I love that, Dean. So anyways, I'm getting ready to end the stream right here. If you have any more questions, feel free to put them in the chat. I hope that what you got out of this session today is the mindset differences between just what you are doing with just commission, but what it could be with cash flow. That on one side, you get something that takes place today, but on the other side, you get something that can build you to a better tomorrow. It doesn't bother me if you looked at that and said, how did he do that? Because I would look back and go, it just takes courage. But wherever you're at, I want you to know that you can live your life with a destiny and that you can live your life with a purpose. And that's what the on purpose investor is all about. I hope to see you at the next Dealmaker session or at the next webinar. So peace out, friends. Thanks for being here.